Welcome back to the podcast. I am your co-host, Keoni McKeague, and with me today, Nolan Chang, Jared Shiraz. Say what's up to the pod, boys.
Buongiorno.
What it do?
Right on. It's been a minute. I can't remember the last time we had like a three-person.
I think it was like me and you, and then it was him, you and Jared.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, we've had every combination except all three of us for a very long time. But anyway, we are back finally with the whole crew here for After the Buzzer. We're going to talk some NBA basketball. But before we get into that, we got to give a shout out to our partner, W Energy. Obviously, a fantastic tasting energy drink, which we've been on the train telling you guys for the last how many episodes. But they are fantastic tasting, gives you the energy without the crash. It's just a really good energy drink. So go out to w.gg, order yourself some W, use our promo code, which is Poi N Soy, POINSOY, for 10% off your order.
It's called being prepared.
Yeah, exactly. Moving on to the next
product.
Okay, all right.
Be a part of the system.
Speaking of not being a part of a system, we got Team USA basketball, which was just absolutely a flop. Overall, 3 losses in FIBA World Cup play. Pretty terrible on Team USA's part. But Jared, I'm going to throw it over to you first because we had the last conversation with you regarding Lithuania and Italy and kind of move on to what happened after that. Throwing it over to you, what are your thoughts on what happened with Germany first? We'll just talk about that first.
The inexperience because of the youngness. And it really shows that we're inexperienced as far as international play on this roster.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We talked about, it's a different game. You look at players like on the Germany side, like Schroeder, Wagner, Tace, like they are players that, besides I would say Schroeder, are by no means superstars in NBA. You know what I mean? They're teams, they're there, they produce, but I think of all the players, Schroeder would be the one that I would say on that roster is a superstar. Because he's done kind of good things in the NBA in his own regard. I think a lot of people are giving Steve Kerr flack for was not playing Walker Kessler. Because I feel like size was an issue for us.
Mm-hmm.
Size was a definite issue for us. I know we didn't get out-rebounded by much, but just you look at the inside production, you look at just the way the international game is played. You talked about it. When we look at the Serbia roster and things like that and the issues and the people like that, it's a big man game, you know? And I think that's where we did get exposed.
They executed to a T. Franz was obviously shooting pretty lights out. Daniel Theis obviously put in a lot of defensive effort against our big men, which was just embarrassing.
I think overall, We've talked in the past. This is not the lineup that we would send for an actual Olympic tournament, right? It is quality players. Yeah, it's quality players, but this is not the roster that we would send.
Mm-hmm.
I think what ended up really kind of transpiring is that at the beginning of this FIBA tournament, we had Brandon Ingram as one of the core key guys, and then as the tournament enveloped, he wasn't going to be the guy that was going to help us win games or be efficient on the court. And so they had to reroute everything that they had in their starters and the rotations. And it wasn't the team that they were expecting to have in the final game of the FIBA World Cup. It's just a matter of that now you have to kind of rework what you have on the roster because someone's not showing out, someone's not showing up, someone doesn't fit into the rotation in your system.
Yeah.
And all in all, you look at Germany, you look at why am I blanking? Canada. These are probably, for the most part, Canada a little higher than Germany. Condensed NBA players on it. And I know you guys talked about it. Noah Lyles, like, what are the world champs? I was like, see, these guys are the reason why they come to the U.S. to play in the NBA basketball league because these are the best guys from each country wanting to play in a better league. And now you see it on the world stage where these guys who have the NBA experience, who you look at Franz Wagner, he's a great role guy, maybe a sixth man on a Olympic team, I guess you could say, in like a USA Olympic team. But you look at him on the Magic, he does well there, but he's just a terrible team. But it doesn't mean he's a shitty player. he's a great player, and he goes back to his country team. You have Schroeder, who once again role guy. You have both the Tice and Mo Wagner role guys, but they do their job well for when it comes to their country and how the team plays there. So when you look at this team, USA we didn't have a good roster to send against them. This wasn't the team that was going to make any sense, and
like we had a good roster. Let's put that. I was like,
want to go back to the first pod where we talked about the roster.
Let's be honest here. If we're talking about the players that are on the team, we had the most talented team roster wise for this.
Oh yeah, because
like I don't think saying we had a bad roster. I was like, that's like saying like
in USA standard, I was like, in USA team standards.
That's different.
This is exactly. This is not.
If you clarify it that way,
that's what I was like. Put it out in the world. We have the best roster.
Fair enough.
We can always field the best roster.
It's one of those things where you can't say it's team construction. You can't really say it's coaching. It's just I think it goes back to what Jared had mentioned and what I kind of said earlier. It's just a lack of experience at the world
and knowing
level,
what the tournament is. It's exactly. It's a different beast, right? Yeah.
It's very different. Yeah, that's why I was like, it's a very different type of basketball. Going over to the Canada game, actually, I'll get your thoughts on it first because I don't want to expound here. But Jared, over to you. What were your thoughts on the Canada game specifically? If you got to catch any of that,
I think for me, Shea has been having a hell of a tournament. Everything you hear, everything you see, everything that he's done in his last couple years to build his name, literally has showed on this international level because his game fits that level. Not that level. I'm sorry, not that level, but fits that style of play. He really shines in the FIBA because of that. And to be honest, I know we hate Dylan Brooks. He drops 39 and does things like he's 7 of 8 from the 3-point line. I think it's because Shea drew so much attention, and there was so much like, if we're gonna get beat, we're gonna get beat by somebody else. And I mean, honestly, if you're gonna put your cards in a basket of who you really want to get beat by, I want to get beat by Dylan Brooks because I don't think he's that good of a player. We're gonna force him to hit shots.
I would have forced.
We're gonna force him. We're gonna force him to do a lot of different things. But I mean, I think that was a lot of the things for at least that Canada game. But same thing, Nolan put it perfect, and I was going to talk about it too. Condensed NBA roster. These are some NBA great players, like role players. Powell, Olenek, Dylan Brooks. RJ Barrett's kind of supposed to be the superstar in his team, and
he got 23 points against us.
Yeah, no, exactly, and he really shows that he can thrive. It's interesting for me that as well. Didn't play because he talks about his type of role where they have Brunson, who's on the other side of the ball. And especially because it was Josh Hart, it was a facilitating defensive. They have those type of players where, which I think those players kind of are supposed to do all the stuff. So like RJ Barrett kind of takes a back seat. So you look at the scores; they're very guard heavy, and that's why I think that's why Canada succeeded, because we like the DNPs. This game was Ingram, Banchero, and JJJ, right? It was nice to see Kessler get at least 16 minutes. In that regard, I do think part of it could have been fatigue from the Germany game. Asking, you guys have to do a lot on the defensive side of the ball. That's why, I mean, those are big dudes in Germany. We talk about the size, right? Yeah. And the fact that how he has to body up, and he's not the biggest guy in the world as far as like thickness.
And unfortunately, it didn't work out. Obviously, they did lose. You get a guy like Dylan Brooks on fire. I think this really speaks to the mental capacity of like the younger players in the league. There were some moments in there where you could literally see them kind of lose like that fire that, they always start off the game with, and then like kind of in the middle it trailed off, and then as they tried to, fight their way back into it, it just looked pretty like they just all looked down. And I'm not sure if it's because they don't have a true leader on the team. I thought that would probably be, Jalen Brunson at the initial, like when they first got into the FIBA tournament. He kind of trailed off a little bit, and then I really thought it was going to end up being Ant. You need somebody who can kind of match his energy as far as like his leadership style, because I do feel like he's kind of like an in-your-face kind of guy. I just don't think that they did it. You know what I mean? But anyway, yes, I think that'll do it. Thank you for joining us on this episode of After the Buzzer, your favorite basketball podcast. Go out there, order yourself some Dubby. Get some of that hydration in you. Get some of that caffeine in you. If you're a caffeine person, which most of us here definitely are,
Need some more
definitely
caffeine
need.
right now.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm about to go grab some after this.
Same.
But as always, it's been a pleasure. It's been a joy. From all of us here at Poi N Soy. Oh my God, he said it exactly like how he always says
Fuck
it.
you guys. Goodbye.
Bang, bang.
Shoots.